The guys who raise the most capital are not the guys who build the best businesses. Gully Lab is not an apology.
Is entrepreneurship a luck game then?
What did college do for me?
You also exited at a point of time. If you were to go back, would you still sell your company?
I would sell my company 100% because it was the right decision for me at that time.
And if you were in my shoes, what question would you want to ask yourself?
How do you manage your time?
Arjun, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Excited to meet you and be on the First Principles podcast.
Thank you. So today we'll be conceptualizing a D2C brand from scratch, from naming to execution, with the philosophy of your fund in a company you would want to invest. So if someone is watching this and would want to build exactly what we built today, we'll share your mail ID and whatever companies, and hopefully you might invest in them.
Okay.
Let's start with the industry which you want to pick.
What industry do you want to?
Because there's a hyper personal care, maybe skincare or perfume.
But that's done to death.
That's done to death.
Let's do sports.
Sports, okay, sports.
Okay. Are you going to help me or am I just...
Yeah, sports. What in sports? Do we go niche in the sports? Do we go in athleisure?
Athleisure, there's lots of brands. I think there is a scope. So I'm very interested with the scale of Decathlon India, 5,000 crore business. That signals that there are lots of Indians doing their first job, their first run, their first paddle game, their first squash game. Because Decathlon is the place you buy your first equipment. Right? Like, for example, my first pair of running shoes, my first paddle racket, my first pickleball racket. As you get better at the sport, then you go up. My first camping bag.
Yeah, Decathlon.
Decathlon. Always
Yeah,
Decathlon.
always.
Now, most kids are buying their first cycles from there as well, right? Cycles is a large part of the business. But I think that as this population goes from first to second, other than Boldfit, there is no brand that captures the market. I think Boldfit is an outstanding job, built a very large business, pretty much owned the online space while Decathlon owned the offline space. But I think there needs to be a brand that goes a level above, which means that I bought my first pair of lifting gloves or fitness bands or my first sipper water bottle. I'll buy it from these. But as I go up, as I run my first half marathon instead of my first 5K, as I do my first high rocks, as I play a paddle tournament, I need to go up. Now, when you go up, today we are only buying foreign brands. My pickleball racket is Selkirk, my paddle racket is Bull Paddle, my football shoes are Nike, my high rock shoes are Puma, my squash racket is Prince. And so I'm buying only global brands, right? If the reason I'm buying global brands is because the Indian brands that are selling products in that space, and there are many Indian brands, very few of them have reached the level of quality as well as aspiration. They're there. Like my first pair of, have you played football?
Not really.
My first pair of football shoes were this brand called Nivea.
Nivea, yeah.
Good.
Decent.
हाँ यार कुछ फीलिंग नहीं आया.
Feeling नहीं आया.
आप नाइकी के जूते पहनते हो तो
Different
फीलिंग
में
आता
आता
है,
है,
right?
Yeah.
So I think that there needs to be a brand for the second purchase in sports in India, which has aspiration, creates quality products. Look, if you tell me to buy a Indian brand paddle racket and I play paddle 3-4 times a week and the racket is not as good as Bull Paddle and I have the capability or the ability
To
or
buy
the
it.
disposable income to buy it, I'm not going to buy something substandard. Not interested. And so the aspiration combined with the quality, the aspiration is built by the right athletes using it, the right brand ambassadors, the right content, the right recreational athletes using it. Like, can you create a boat for sports in India? That level of...
Okay.
And I said boat because it had aspiration. I also said boat because they have the right athletes working with it. So can you create that vibe? And all the cool people you know, or all the people you respect, all of them, all just one, are all using it.
They started naming it. What would you name it if you were making it?
What would you name it?
I would think, I don't know, something related to fit or something either too,
It is boring.
something too aspirational like hydro maybe, or something like I have to brainstorm on it, but yeah, something very different. Or if you want some Indian origin name.
I won't do an Indian origin name because Indian origin names in India
They sound cheap.
are perceived as cheap. Unfortunate.
Unfortunately, yeah, but it sounds cheap. Yeah.
I would call it victory.
Victory. Interesting. Okay, and how would you start sourcing for it? Like, are we going into all sports or are we going into niche sports?
You'll have to start somewhere, right?
So start padel, squash.
No, I would not start with paddle or squash. These are sports I play, but they're not large sports in India.
Okay.
What are the large sports in India?
Cricket.
Cricket, but cricket is very hard to get into, right? Because There are already very large Indian known brands that are there in the game. Where is the gaps, I would say? Sports are big in India in terms of what kids play and people growing up play. Table tennis,
badminton,
badminton,
football.
I'm going there.
You're going there.
I'm going there.
Okay. Now we have figured out the name and the.
But I'm not just going there. I'm going into some clothing. I'm going into some running shoes. I'm going into socks. I'm going into jerseys, tees, shorts. I'm going full stack.
You're going full stack. Okay.
I'm going full stack. I want to go to every sport.
But in whatever sport you're going, you're going to go full stack.
Yeah, like अभी वर्कआउट का टी शर्ट है तो फुटबॉल भी पहन सकते हो, बास्केटबॉल भी पहन सकते हो, तो वो तो बेसिक्स में रखने वाला हूँ.
Okay. And what do you think initial capital would be?
You'll need money.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think the reason you need money is this is a multiple SKU business.
Okay.
It's not a business that can be built with 5 products, 7 products.
You need.
You need 40, 50, 60 products. So I would at least invest in maybe 1 CR of inventory. And then I would keep another 1 CR for branding and more.
2 CR.
At least 2 CR.
To start. And are we going to start with like we need a store, right, or something like this? So are we going to get
No store. Why need a store? Does Bolford have a store?
no?
We do more than 350, 400 crores in sales. I've heard even more than that now.
So D2C direct online. Yeah. And
Start. When पैसा है तो store बनाएंगे. अभी पैसा नहीं है.
Interesting.
I saw a lot of founders come up with a cool idea to build a mini decathlon inside the city.
Mini decathlon.
Like decathlon is big stores, right?
Yeah, very big store.
And it's usually located outside a city. Because you don't get that big store floor plate in the middle of Bombay, right? You won't get what you need. I have one store in Atria, but it's a smaller format store in South Bombay. So it's usually big stores. And now I've seen that they have like pickleball court and a basketball court and a running track outside the store as well. So you try your products there, use your products there. The vibe is also built there. It becomes a community center, a place people meet, etc. And that is what sports is about. Sports is about community, about coming together. Like I can talk to you endlessly about Mumbai Indians or Manchester United or my High Rocks.
You like Mumbai Indians?
Or I'm a crazy Mumbai Indians kid. So I think a lot of people have tried to create that mini decathlon type business, right? The problem with that is that to build a store that is 10,000, 20,000 square feet will take you $1 million
at least to start, yeah.
And so that startup cost is what's prevented a lot of people from starting. They're very good people, very good entrepreneurs. That initial startup cost is what stopped people from starting.
And when we figured out we need 2 CR of capital to start this, and how are we going to figure out, like, are we going to white label the products or are we going to source from China? What are we going to?
Well, I think that we have to accept the reality that some products are available in India, some products are not. So what's available in India, we'll source in India. What's available in China, we'll source in China. I want my products to look sexy. I don't want my customer to apologize that I Indian brand खरीदा. नहीं. Gully Lab is not an apology. 30% of Gully Lab sales come from outside of India. And that is a brand of India being sold globally. It's not apologetic to sell an Indian. I may choose the name Victory, but there will be elements of India in my brand, for sure.
Interesting. And when you talk about what will be your first hires? Because now let's say you have 2 CRM bank right now and you have to start. What will be your first hires? How will you?
I think 3 people to start with.
Okay.
One person who gets design, but now I guess in the world of AI, someone who's able to create design using AI, not ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not good enough in terms of design and creative, Sora, Canva, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever is needed, but has the aesthetic. See, using the LLM, anybody can be. But the aesthetic on how to use the LLM and what looks good and what looks bad, not everyone can, right? So one designer, one growth marketing person who understands performance marketing, partnerships, all of that. And then one person who gets tech because, and again, it won't be someone who's a developer coder because again, with AI, you don't need to develop a website from scratch anymore, right? But with multiple SKUs, I need to have a really strong D2C website, like an outstanding D2C website. So someone knows how to manage that.
And for content part, you will hire from outsource or you'll build in-house everything for content?
I'll do it myself.
You'll do it yourself?
Look, I think with content, right, you don't really need to hire a video editor full-time and also. There's lots of freelancers, there's lots of software to do it. I'll be the brains behind the content. That at least I can do.
Okay.
Sales and marketing is my responsibility. The operations, logistics, warehousing, now there's third-party platforms. The day-to-day performance marketing, the ops of that, the growth, the marketplace listing, somebody else will do. The design creative, somebody else will do. The tech part, somebody else will do. But I have to own the sales and marketing function. And content is a very large part of that function, so it has to be me.
That has to be the CEO.
No, it doesn't have to be the CEO, but it has to be me because I know how to do it. So as a CEO, you need to understand what your skill set is.
Okay.
And for me, I have a skill set.
You have a skill set in content, so you will definitely get in content. And what amount of revenue or what should be the stats in order for your fund to invest in them?
I think if the business gets off the ground and gets to 40, 50 lakhs and builds a good brand,
Let's say per month or per
30, 40 lakhs per month,
you look at it. Interesting. And when we talk about margins, what exactly is the margin in this business?
look at this various different kinds of products. I would assume this business would be a 50, 60% gross margin business. But I have to be able to really find the gaps on the marketplaces as well as in the marketplace, able to keep my customer acquisition cost to below 30%. I'm able to do that, I make money.
You make money. Now we talked about budget of 2 CR, but I think a lot of students wouldn't have that kind of budget. So assuming student would get a budget of 25, 30 lakhs, what would you do?
You pick one.
You pick one and you get into it.
So you do a badminton brand to start with, or a football brand to start. That's it.
That's it.
You keep the number of SKUs limited. You do heavy research on the Amazon marketplace to see the gaps, use Helium 10, etc. See what your competitors are doing, and then really find those nuanced gaps and launch 10 products.
Personal products. And yeah, that's how, and the amount of money you have, that's how you scale and whatever it is.
Not necessarily, by the way. If you have 25 lakhs, can you not build a brand? Answer is
can.
Bolfit was bootstrapped at like 250 crores or 200 crores. So you can build a brand. It just may take a little bit more time. And that's okay. That's okay. The guys who raise the most capital are not the guys who build the best businesses. That's a complete misnomer. Because overeating leads to indigestion. So I was talking to a founder today who had worked at a business that raised 50 million, and he told me something very interesting. He said that business shut down because they tried 6 businesses. Had the guy raised only 2 million instead of 50 million, he's a smart guy. Would have done well.
Interesting. Taking on to your journey, because you also exited at a point of time. If you were to go back, would you still sell your company?
I would sell my company 100% because it was the right decision for me at that time. Would you sell my company if you were in my shoes? Maybe not. Maybe yes. But for me at that time, with the offer I got, plus the fact that I thought the business would only be able to grow online and not offline. And I knew only online. It would have to grow offline, but I didn't know how to do the offline growth. I thought it was the right time for me to go. Also, I think people don't talk about it, but COVID was exhausting for us mentally and physically. I was in the warehouse every day for 2 months packing orders. So the founder's energy at that point as well and motivation to continue for another 5 years, that's also important. And you can never decide for somebody else where their mind is at a particular point in time.
If Dr. Vaidya wouldn't have been successful, what would you be doing right now?
My dream was to either play sports or be a sports commentator. Because I couldn't do any of that professionally, I came here and did this. But I'd be building another D2C brand.
Like, you're just failing in businesses. What would you do? What would Arjun be?
Go and work at the top startups.
You'll work at the top startup.
Yeah, and learn
And
why I'm failing.
by your failure. And if you were in my shoes, what question would you want to ask yourself?
How do you manage your time?
Arjun, how do you manage your time?
Look, I'm not as structured as other people. I go by a calendar, but I don't prioritize as much. I'm doing this right now, but my phone is blowing up. But I thought this was important to do, so I'm doing it. But I would say that there's been a massive change in my life in terms of time management after I've had kids. Because you don't have that
Bandwidth.
ability to work till 1 a.m. You don't have that ability to work on the weekends as well. That's all gone. As much as you wanted, you don't have it.
Right? So family games. My question would be
Not family.
not family. Okay.
When my wife and I were without kids, we could do what we wanted, whatever time, go on a holiday, go on a trip, not plan, etc., etc., etc. Now with kids, the game has changed.
Game has changed. So do you think that in order to achieve good success or good entrepreneurial success or become great, you have to have good kind of sacrifice, especially when it comes to family or kids or whatever?
Look, to achieve any form of success, as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, as anything in life, you have to make sacrifice, right? Something's got to give for the hours that you spend in the office versus being somewhere else. I sacrificed my social life for that 3, 4 year, 5 year period. I was the latest person to every friend's wedding. There was a destination wedding, I would go for only one night. That time I felt really bad because my business was also not doing well. But you got to sacrifice. I had a Remember, mirror in my office. So I wouldn't waste the time to go home, get ready, and go for my friend's wedding. We'd get ready in the office, keep our laptops in the car. Outside Taj Hotel in Bombay, I remember like being on my emails, on my hotspot, finishing that email, and then going for my friend's wedding. Do that.
So you have sacrificed a lot.
A lot. What? I sacrificed my health also. I don't think I was as fit as I am today when I was building my business. But that's okay. Everything has an opportunity cost and a time.
Tell me something which you have sacrificed and not you have not recovered from it.
I think I've sacrificed time with my daughter. Uh, a little bit too much. When I had my second daughter, I changed. But until then, maybe the first 2.5 years of my daughter's life, I didn't take it as seriously that I had to be home so much and spend as much time. And I've not recovered because she's closer to my wife than she is to me. I'm going to try to change that, or at least bring it to the same level.
Interesting. And one trade-off which you did later you realized it was too late, which you didn't not want to do.
Yeah, I think I really respected my dada and really liked the person he became. And I learned a lot from him. But he always wanted me to go to the factory with him. And he would go at like 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday. And I was a kid, 12, 13 years old. I'd tell him every time I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. He'd call my house. He'd check if I was coming before he left every time. I never ended up going. He passed away. I inherited his business. I built this business. But I'd never seen the factory before. So I really struggled to understand how an Ayurveda factory works.
It must be it must have been very hard.
Super hard. The hardest thing I did in my business was running a factory. Everything else was easy. There's different nuances. Like you don't have the production. You are working with people who don't believe in your vision. They don't understand that it's going to be a success in 6 months. And every time I went to the factory, they had some complaints. And I thought, I'm like working my ass off. Why are you keeping on complaining to me? Uh, you have to set lots of systems and processes. Has to work like clockwork. There is no kind of maybe, let's see. None of that is allowed in a factory. And in creativity, and I'm a creative person, you're allowed grays. In a factory, it's black and white.
Interesting. And what problem do you think your success didn't solve?
I still don't have time. I may be reasonably successful, maybe more successful than a lot of people my age, but I'm still running against the clock every day.
I want to understand when you talk about relationships or family part. A lot of people have this myth that if you're building or if you're an entrepreneur or something like that, you should not have relationships in terms of dating and all because you're always building.
I actually spent time with a founder who I angel invested in 4 years back, and he's late 20s now. And I mean, he's doing very well at work. I'll make like 50 times my investment in that company. It's done very well. Every time I meet him, I ask him, dude, what's happening in life? What's happening in the love life? And he said, I'm too busy to find someone for myself. And I keep telling him, you should, because it's my partner changed my life. And you don't want to leave that part of your life out because um, I learned this a little bit later in life that balance is important. And the most successful people in the world are the people who spend the most time with their family. You think they're busy, but one of the most successful businessmen in the world at his granddaughter's birthday didn't have a phone on him and was with his granddaughter for those entire 2.5 hours. I was on the phone. A lot of people are on the phone. He's like 1,000 times more successful than me. Those 2 hours he was with his granddaughter. He didn't care about anybody else at that part.
Which billionaire? Okay, some billionaire.
Some successful both.
Some successful person. But like when I'm talking about extreme success, because we often not talk about Elon Musk, that he has multiple marriages, broker relationships. Even when we look at top, so I think there was a report of top 100 people, just say kuch, like,
But look at India, it's not this.
yeah, it's not the solution. But the change of generations, I think that might happen.
I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm seeing it happen. In my age group, there's a lot of broken engagements, a lot of divorces, a lot of cheating. It's not nice. But hey, that's time, that's a generation. Maybe it's happened in the US or the West one generation before us, and people take their own decision. I can't comment on that. But as someone who believes in the concept of family and the concept of commitment, I Hope it doesn't come to our country the extent it came to other countries. Having said that, everyone has the right to choose. And if you fall out of love or done with a relationship, it's better to move on than to stay in it and be unhappy. But I just hope it doesn't hit our country to the extent that it hit the West.
Interesting. And
Because our relationships, commitment, family gives our country and our people a sense of being that other countries never. Loneliness is not as big a problem in India as it is in the rest of the world. It's a problem. And massive businesses are built on loneliness. Look at all those astrology apps, right? So loneliness is a problem, but I don't think it's as big a problem here as it is.
you talked about loneliness, right? So do you believe in those astrology apps?
Doesn't matter whether I believe in them or not. Uh, a lot of people believe in them. The interesting part is Gen Zs are using them more than millennials. So my generation actually is very skeptical about these things. But I'm wearing a Rudraksh now. And I never wore Rudraksh in my life. And for some reason, I invested in a spiritual goods company and they told me I should be wearing a Rudraksh. I wore it. My life became better. I wear Rudraksh all day now. My mom was pulling me back in the lift when I was leaving for a paddle game and she broke my Rudraksh. I'm a very rational person. I'm not so religious. I panicked. So there is some change happening.
Something is there that is so is entrepreneurship a luck game then?
No, I think there is an element of luck in everything we do, but you create your own luck, which means that the opportunity for luck can come anytime. It can come on your first day, 100 day, 1,000 day, 5,000 day. But if you ain't there on the day that that luck is created for you and you're not grabbing that luck, it's gone. So if on day 360 of your business, something crazy happens, but you've decided, I don't feel like going to the office today, I'm missing that opportunity and the next time it's coming, a business shutdown. So you create your own luck. You can't time luck. But when that luck comes, whenever it comes, you got to be there to grab it.
Showing up every day.
Yeah. And look, I'm not a talented person. I'm a consistent person. I'm a hardworking person. I show up every day for everything. I may not be the best writer on LinkedIn, but I can tell you there's very few people in the world as consistent. And I solve for lack of talent with consistency.
So it's more of a pattern recognition game that you find patterns and you figure out that.
Yeah. It's not about pattern recognition also. It's about getting 1% done.
1%.
If you show up every single day, you build muscle memory, you build a habit, and you get 1% better. That's it.
That's interesting. Any fun moment or interesting moment would you like to share about on your days when you were building Dr. Vaidya's or your VC fund,
Yeah, lots of fun.
which you have never shared?
Lots of fun, memorable days. Look, I think that uh, in Dr. Vaidya's time, I've shared this in a few places, but two memories that stay with me is, when you're building a business, you think you're building a brand, but then everybody around you is like, no, it's not really a brand. Then I was on a flight to Bangalore, do my monthly pilgrimage to Amazon, and we were sitting in like a 10th row aisle seat or something like that. A guy on the other aisle. And I used to wear Dr. Vaidya's green polo t-shirt everywhere I went. He looked at me and he said, "Aap Dr. Vaidya se ho?" I said, "हाँ." He said, "मैं विजयनगर में एक केमिस्ट शॉप चलाता हूँ. आपका एक प्रोडक्ट बहुत वायरल जा रहा है हबो बिल्ड. मुझे स्टॉक चाहिए प्रोडक्ट का. तो जो भी आपका बॉस है उनको बोल दो मेरे साथ कनेक्ट करने के लिए. ये मेरा नंबर है." Now, I didn't tell him I was the owner of the company or the CEO. But that moment for me made me realize that this brand that I think I'm building in my head is actually becoming a brand. That's extremely powerful. I think that was one memorable moment. The other memorable moment building Dr. Ideas was when I won that Amazon SMB of the year and Jeff Bezos gave us the award. I came back to Bombay and I gave it to my dadi, that award. And my dada had passed away at this time and she looked at the award and she said, "Well, dada would have been proud today." And that was why I did the business, right? Take forward my grandfather's thing. So I think two quite memorable moments. As a VC, will create them.
You will create it. And you mentioned you had a factory. So you were from a core dhanda mentality. And then you went into like raising funds and selling the company. How did the shift happen? I don't think it will be. It would.
I while the business was a core dhanda, I made it a startup from Daisy. So I inherited this business which was a core dhanda, doctor running a clinic with 350 patients a day coming to that clinic, and running a very profitable shop. But when I came on, my dada had passed and I run it like a startup, not like a.
And how did you meet Pratham?
I met Pratham when he was in college. He was roommates with one of my best friends from school, and I used to go to Penn to visit because I went to college where there were not so many Indians. So every time I missed India, I used to go to Penn, and yeah, I met him through Kaji, and we've been friends since. And since MU started, actually, I've been coming here and teaching e-commerce and D2C, and it's been an amazing experience.
Interesting. And I have a rapid fire round. I'll give you a scenario. Just go say yes, no, or whatever. Build versus invest.
Build,
Control versus scale.
scale first, then control.
Brand or distribution. Or let's say product or distribution.
Execution.
You have to choose between product or distribution. Product. Cash flow versus valuation.
If I'm building the business, valuation of my dad is cash flow.
Founder or investor.
Founder.
Now I have hire or fire scenarios. I'll give you scenarios. You have to tell you hire or fire them, and maybe one justification line of why you hired or why you fired. Extremely loyal but average.
Higher.
Who argues you but usually is right.
Higher.
Someone with extreme ego but 1% talent, like top 1% talent.
No. Fire. I'm not a guy for ego.
Someone who takes initiatives but break rules.
Depends what rules are being broken. If it's legal to break those rules, then fine. Higher.
Someone who's trying to replace you.
Fire.
Right.
Because in most cases that comes from the wrong place. Be yourself, don't try to replace someone else.
If you were 19, what would you build?
Build a ecosystem again.
Okay, give me industries like in which you still feel there's scope, because you've talked about beauty and personal care use.
I think pets, there's scope. Health and wellness, there's a revolution happening in preventive supplements right now. Massive scope. Fashion, India can't consume enough fashion. And I think premium fashion and lifestyle products, that is handbags, jewelry, sunglasses, backpacks, luggage, all of those categories, still lots to be built. Sports, health and wellness in general. And then specific beauty personal care businesses.
Specific beauty. As
Not general. Anti-aging, kids, seniors, women, Gen Z, teens, tweens, preteens. Specific. I'm not buying a general brand like Mamaearth anymore. I'm buying minimalist, right? And that will percolate to industries. And because the market has grown so large, even an anti-aging company or multifunctional company or a men's skincare company can all become large businesses.
okay. One question which you think I should have asked in our conversation and which I didn't.
What did college do for me?
What did college do for you?
I think you're right in our conversation before we had this podcast. I didn't learn so much in class, but the exposure outside the class from my classmates, the relationships I built, and the confidence I got, it made me the person I am.
One last question. One piece of advice for me.
It's good to be different, but some of the things said in those classes will add value to your life.
Any other piece of advice? Related to podcast maybe.
Yeah, just keep doing it. If you're consistent, and you keep putting out content, you'll start figuring out patterns of what's working and what's not. If you don't do it enough, you'll learn.
Thank you, Arjun, for being
Pleasure.